So now we're gonna do the Nashville Predators postseason expansion draft, free agency slash trade market, and preseason preview. Oh, I'm not gonna do the entry draft for the Preds because, like I said in the previous video or in the next video, I don't know how I'm gonna upload these. I don't know anything about the prospects coming up for the draft, so I'm not gonna bother with the Preds ones. They have a pick so late in the draft, I don't even care. I might mention who they're supposed to draft, but I have no idea. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so postseason review. My big question coming out of this 2020-2021 season is, which team are the Preds actually? Are they the first half team that was so bad that they couldn't score, they couldn't defend, they were awful on the power play, awful on the penalty kill? Or are they the second half season that made it to the playoffs? UC Soros played out of his freaking mind, and their penalty kill was way better. Their power play was still mad, but better, and they could score. And they definitely could defend. Which team are they? That, I think, is the biggest question here. I want to hope that they're the second half team, but maybe just a little bit better. It all kind of depends on what they decide to do in free agency and what happens to the expansion draft. I've got some interesting tidbits that I've seen around on NHL.com and from Elliot Friedman from 31 Thoughts, just, from what he said. But the Preds are an interesting team in this offseason. I hope, like I said, I hope they're the latter half team. The penalty kill was so much better in the second half of the season, and if you looked at the way they killed the penalties in the Hurricanes series, they were just so much better. They still have room for improvement. I hope they don't start the season off terribly again. I hope they just are able to pick up where they left off, and but I think they have to re-sign a couple of big pieces. But that's beside the point. They still couldn't get the offense going as much last year. The defense looked a hell of a lot better last year than it did, or in the second half of last year than it did both in the first half and of all of last year. Again, they weren't great in the 1920 season, but they were much better in the 2021 season. We'll see which team they are coming up. But like I said, I hope they're the second half team. Johansson, I realized, is signed for the playoffs. That's the only reason they have him. Duchesne scored 6 goals, and 2 of them were in the last game. He was extremely disappointing this season. Arvidsson, after he suffered some injuries, was terrible this season. We'll get to what happened with him later. Ekholm was absolutely phenomenal this year. UC Soros proved to us that he is a number 1 goalie. Pekka Rinne had a spectacular end. Hope might be end to his career. I'll definitely make a video if he does end up retiring. But the last game he played, I believe it was a 5-0 shutout over the Hurricanes. Spectacular way to go out if he decides to go out. A lot of ups for the season of certain players. Rocco Grimaldi was spectacular this season. Probably one of the best players. I don't know why he kept getting scratched all season. He definitely needed to be in there on that third line instead of Nick Cousins, if I'm being honest. Who I don't remember. Is he a free agent? No, we have Nick Cousins for one more season. But Nick Cousins was not great this year. He was lackluster. I mean, he definitely came up clutch in the latter half of the season. He's definitely a pest, and I would love if he could hit his full potential. Be able to go in and score a couple goals, get under people's skin. I think that's what he's there for, but he didn't do it as much as I would have liked. Last season. Yakov Trenin is a monster. That fourth line, the Herd line, was spectacular this season. Sistens, Trenin, and whether it was Olivier or Tanner Janot. I didn't care for Michael McCarron on that line, but that's beside the point. The Herd line was awesome all season. I can't wait for them to come back if they come back. But like I said, we'll get back to that later. There was a lot of upside this season. Yarncrook was spectacular this season. I actually really like Luke Cunnin. He got back from his injury and was just lit it up. I can't wait for him to come back this season. Brad Richardson was injured most of the season, along with Mark Borowiecki, so we didn't really get a chance to see them. I don't think they'll bring Brad Richardson back. I understand why they signed him in the first place, but I don't know what's going to happen there. So that's pretty much what I thought of last season. Let's get to the expansion draft preview. A lot of people are speculating, mostly Elliot Friedman from 31 Thoughts, and as well I believe the Steve Dangle guys, is that the Predators are going to protect 4 and 4 or 8 skaters as opposed to 7 and 3. And because of that, the Predators actually traded Victor Arvidsson for a second round pick in 2021 and a third round pick in 2022. I just like to say that I know he'll never see this video, but Victor Arvidsson, thank you so much for being a part of this Nashville Predators team. We're gonna miss you, man. I remember being in the building against the Ducks, and you know, every so often you just hear the RV chants, and whenever you scored, you'd hear the RV chants. Especially when I was here at home watching the games. But we're gonna miss you, man. The Joe line was awesome. You did so much for this team, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in LA. But anyway, so that had to happen. I guess Seattle came to the Predators and were like, "Hey, we're gonna take Arvidsson if you leave him exposed," which I guess pretty much confirmed that the Predators were gonna expose Arvidsson. And they didn't want to get nothing for him. So, you know, the trade, I didn't like the trade initially, but now that I look at it a little bit more, it's fine. I think Victor Arvidsson was a later round draft pick anyway. And last season, he was not great. Granted, he had his injury problems, and I think the year before he had his injury problems, but he's not been the same since that cup run in 17. He was good in 18 too, which is, I believe, the year he broke the Predators' single season goal scoring record with 34, I want to say. But you know, it was time to move on for both player and team. He needed a fresh start. LA is definitely going to give him that. I'm sure he'll be playing top line minutes with Andrzej Kopitar. So yeah, who are the Preds going to protect is, I think, the big question. And I think it's obvious that they're going to protect Philip Forsberg. Past that, I don't know who they're going to protect on offense. They're going to protect Roman Josi, Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm, Dante. I don't think he's eligible. Is he eligible? I don't know. I don't know now. Matt Benning, I guess. I guess they'll protect him. I don't know. And then on the other side, I don't know if they're good. I think a lot of people are struggling whether or not they're going to expose Johansson or Duchesne or both. See, it's tough because Duchesne did not perform well at all. Neither did Johansson in the regular season, but he was awesome in the postseason, and that happened last year with the Coyotes as well. He was awesome in that series. And then with everything else, I don't know who else you protect. I guess you could protect Sissons, Yarncroke, Cousins. I guess you do. I guess you could do Forsberg, either Johansson or Duchesne, Yarncroke, and Cousins. I guess. Yeah, because they're all UFAs in a year. So yeah, I guess that's who you protect. And then, like I said, Josi, Ellis, Ekholm, and I guess Benning. It's interesting. I'm curious to see who they do protect. I think the general consensus is they're going to leave either Johansson or Duchesne exposed. Both have... Duchesne is 5 years. Joey has 4 years left on his deal. Both at $8 million apiece. They're not worth that at all. They're both 9.8% of the cap at the moment. So, we'll see what happens there. Cunning's up at the end of this year. Yarncroke. Actually, Cunnin, Yarncroke, Grimaldi, Cousins, and Trennan are up at the end of this year. Only Cunnin and Trennan are RFAs. And then the rest of them are UFAs. Ekholm, I believe Elliot Friedman on 31 Thoughts said that they're going to try to extend Ekholm this season. I don't think that gets done until after the expansion draft, which, by the way, I saw something right before I started making this video on NHL.com, is that they're going to try to make a trade with Seattle, so they have a deal in place so that Seattle takes someone in particular that they don't necessarily want. With Victor Arvidsson gone, they could definitely do that. Duchesne, according to this on yardbreaker.com, is who they believe is going to go in the expansion draft. I think I'm going to have to agree on that one because he had 6 goals last year. That's not good for an $8 million player, and for that 5 more years. We already have the Turris buyout, which I believe is $2 million for the next, at least until 2026, 2027, which is as far as cap friendly goes. So that's not good. The Preds don't want to end up in that same situation in the next 2 or 3 years. So I don't know. I guess Matt Duchesne, I think, is probably the best option. Joey, at the end of the season, is 3 years left on his deal. It'll be a little bit easier to buy that out or trade it next season, but I think he's still an integral part of this team, and I don't really see him going anywhere or being exposed. So I think that's who they protect. I think Duchesne's probably done as a Nashville Predator, even though he went out of his way to come to Nashville. I just don't see it happening, especially after last season's performance. I could be wrong in both senses. They could possibly do Duchesne, Joey, and Forsberg with maybe Yarncrook or something. I don't know. Free agency in the trade market. Like I said earlier, Ekholm, they want to try to re-sign Ekholm before this season starts. He's going to be expensive. Like I said, he was one of the best players last season, especially with half the decor out. I believe Yossi, Ellis, Benning, and Fabro. They were all injured at the same exact time last year. Ekholm was like one of the only ones left. I actually take that back. I don't think Benning was injured at that time. I think he might have left the game early, but I don't think he was out for any prolonged period of time. Ekholm was a key piece last season, and he was in a lot of trade talks before the Predators got good again, or got better the second half of the season. And it's a possibility that they trade him, but I think they're going to try to. I hope they re-sign him. He's such an integral part of the team. That Ellis might be up for a trade at some point, but right now Ekholm's making. That's it, $3.75 million. That's crazy. He's going to get a massive raise. He'll probably make $5-6 million next season. They have $22 million in cap space. For this upcoming season, the Predators have to re-sign Tolvanen and Olivier, as well as Harper and Fabro. I don't know how much they're going to make. I think Fabro might go to maybe $2 million a season, maybe. That might even be too much. Maybe $1.5 million a season. I liked Ben Harper last year. I think he did a really good job. He's physical, and he's, especially out with the fourth line, and he's good at the net front. And I think he got a decent shot in terms of strength. It's not very accurate at all, but I think maybe he goes to. I don't really know how much he made prior. He made $700,000 last year. Maybe bump him to $950,000 next season. I think that's good enough. You don't bring back Branson. Olivier maybe makes $950,000. Tolvanen probably makes. Ooh, that one's tough. Because with Tolvanen, he has a lot of potential. I mean, he was one of the best rookie goal scorers last season. I think he's got a lot of upside to him, and I definitely think he's got a lot of potential. He's got to meet it next season. I think playing on a line with Johansson and Forsberg next year will help him a lot for the entire season instead of just part of the season. I think he'll make the team out of camp. Or at least I hope he makes the team out of camp. I almost feel like you sign him to a 1-year deal at like 2.5 and see if he proves himself. That's my thinking behind that. Saros is an RFA this year, and he's probably going to be a couple years, maybe 4 years at $5 million. I think that's probably a good place for him. And I don't know what you do about his backup. They have Connor Ingram in the AHL, who makes $733,000 a year. I think you could definitely use him. I think he was very good last year. He was very good in 1920 with the Admirals. It'll be interesting to see what happens there with the goalie situation. Granlund, he made $3 million last year. Yeah, he made $3.75 million. He's important to the team. Maybe $4.75 million, $4.75 million. Probably right up the alley for Granlund. Maybe sign him to a 2-3 year deal. I think that'd probably be fine. I would like if Eric Howler re-signed with the Preds. Last year he cost $1.75 million. You maybe push that to $2 million, maybe $1.9 million. Bring both of them back. They were both huge in the second half of the season, so that's who I would like them to bring back. Now, according to Elliot Friedman, apparently the Predators are interested in Alex Killorn. I think he'd be a great depth piece on third line, maybe playing with Grimaldi and Haula, maybe, because I know Haula's the center. Or Granlund. It kind of depends on what happens with Duchesne and Johansson. But Alex Killorn, I believe he makes $4.45 million for the next 2 seasons, if I remember correctly. Yeah, for the next 2 years, $4.45 million. I almost feel like if you're going to make a trade with Tampa, you have to trade maybe a prospect and have a prospect and a pick and have them retain, maybe. That's definitely a draft night trade. I feel like I just hope they don't give them a roster player, because that roster player will go and they will win a Stanley Cup. This happened with the Devils and Blake Coleman. So I would prefer them to not give up a player, but if they have to, I mean, that's fine. A roster player. Nick Cousins, maybe. David Ferentz. Really no one else comes to mind. Anthony Richard. Rem Pitlick, maybe. But, yeah, Michael Carcone. I don't really see anything happening there in terms of roster players, and a lot of those guys I just named were, or some of those guys I just named were prospects. So who knows? So that's pretty much what that looks like. That's all I know as of right now, according to Elliot Friedman. And like I said, they might have a trade in the works to Seattle, so that they take a particular player instead. Real quick, in terms of the drafting situation, like I said, I'm not going to pretend like I know who any of the draft picks are this season, but the Predators have 8 picks in 7 rounds. They do not have their 7th, but they have Colorado's 4th and LA's 2nd. So they have 3 picks in the first 2 rounds, 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, and then they have 8 overall. Like I said, no 7th round. I believe is that 4th round from the tourist trade? Might be. I don't remember them doing another trade with Colorado. Oh, and they're slated to pick Logan Stankoven, who's 5'8", 170 pounds, the center from Kamloops of the WHL. I don't really care about that. So what are my expectations of this team for next season? Second round of the playoffs, at least. I don't know. That's what I expect from this team this season. Now, we're going to get into the Central Division that is weird. We're going to go back with an underachieving Dallas team from last year. An overachieving Blackhawks team from last year. A team that went to the second round and just blew it. And the Winnipeg Jets. We're going to get the Arizona Coyotes, who are a mess right now. They're going to be brand new to the division. We're going to have the world-breaking Avalanche in the division. We're going to be in the division. The underachieving St. Louis Blues are going to be in the division. And the Minnesota Wild, who are suddenly a fun team again with Kirill Kaprizov. And they might lose Matt Dumba in the expansion draft. But we'll see about that. But and Kevin Fiala's emergence from that trade from a couple years ago when Fenton was the GM. So, really, the top 2 teams in that division are Colorado and Minnesota. Nashville, Chicago, Winnipeg are going to be ones fighting for spots. I would be surprised if that's who makes it. I don't think Arizona's going to be they're going to have to worry about Arizona at all. I don't think they're a concern. They're such a mess, and I know they're trying to trade Ekman-Larsson. They're going into rebuild mode right now, so who knows with them. The Chicago might be worrisome, but yeah, overall, I think they're going to do decent in the division. I expect them to make the playoffs probably as either a 3rd seed or a wild card, which I believe this season they would have made it as a wild card with number of points. And if they can play like they did the second half of the season, I expect 3rd place. But a wild card would be just fine, but I expect them to at least be wild card. I don't think anyone in the Pacific Division is a threat to that. I mean, they have Vegas, they have Edmonton. That's it, really. That no one wants that 3rd place because I think Arizona would have been 3rd place in the Pacific Division last season, and that division's a mess when Arizona, who wasn't even close to making the playoffs, would make the playoffs in that division as the 3rd seed. Vancouver, Calgary, LA. Well, I guess they have LA, but they have 3 teams maybe in that division, so I definitely expect the Preds to at least have a wild card spot for next season. I expect them to. I guess if they have a wild card, I think if they make 3rd place, I expect them to go to the second round. If they're a wild card, I don't know. I don't think they can beat Colorado or Vegas. They could beat Edmonton, though. If Edmonton somehow ends up in 1st place, they can beat Edmonton. But I feel like it's going to be Vegas and Colorado in the 1st place of their divisions. So if they make the wild card, they'll face one of those 2. I don't think they'll win. But if they go 3rd place and they have to face Minnesota, I think they can handle Minnesota. Especially if they played, like I said, the way they played the second half of the year. But yeah, that's my expectations. And that's really my 2021 look at the Nashville Predators. Tell me what you guys think. Who should they protect? Who do you think they should give up? Who do you think they should sign? What trades should they make? And what do you guys think they're going to do next season? Definitely tell me in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.